When I was 10, my parents and I moved to Lafayette, California. While my parents are Bulgarian Orthodox, they were never particularly religious. They had immigrated from Bulgaria, where the communist regime curtailed the church's influence on everyday life. Living in socialist Bulgaria reduced the opportunities my parents had to experience religion, and our discussion of religion in the home was limited as a result. Because of my family's detachment from religious community and practices, my first major exposures to spirituality while growing up were through my friends and community in the U.S. Over time, I had grown to appreciate the level of religious diversity of my city, but I never had a chance to study or learn more about spiritual beliefs outside my social circle. In this video, I will be exploring Lafayette's religious diversity by examining a couple unique spiritual denominations in my city and learning more about their beliefs and local history. First, I researched St. Perpetua, my local Catholic church. The St. Perpetua parish was founded in 1952, and the church was built in 1953 after the parish experienced rapid growth. I attended the online evening mass they host, and it was a beautiful and uplifting experience.
Mercy you have given, kindness you have shown, love is you.
Watching the congregation sing hymns and participate in communion was particularly interesting, as I did not realize Mass had so many musical elements. The pastor gave an interesting sermon about the spiritual implications of the pandemic, technology, and politics in the context of personal relationships.
However, the image of Jesus that we're presented on this feast of Christ the King offers something very different. Jesus' form of influence is more like a flow of shared meaning, where people come to the revelation of truth together.
Next, I researched Temple Isaiah, a Reformed synagogue in Lafayette. Temple Isaiah is another long-standing congregation in my town and the oldest synagogue in the county. The congregation was founded by the local League of Jewish Women, who located and contacted Jewish families in the area to bring them together using shared spiritual and cultural heritage. Interestingly enough, the congregation decided not to identify specifically with conservative or Reformed Judaism at the time. They decided that when they selected their first rabbis, this distinction would become clear. Since its establishment, Temple Isaiah's community has grown to include more than 900 families. Their motto captures the continued intent of the community, to serve as a Jewish neighborhood or to provide a cultural and spiritual community for Jews to come together in. I spoke with Rabbi Brenninger about Temple Isaiah, and we discussed the implications of the community's uniquely Californian story.
Like how I interpret that comment from our website, or that note, is that as I mentioned before, Judaism is not just a religion, but it's a tradition. It's a long-standing tradition and community. And there are some Jewish communities that are kind of so rooted in their traditions that it's very hard to make change. And that if you want to try anything new or different, it's like, well, that's not how we do it. Like, our tradition is X. Like, we're not going to try this other thing that you want to try. And I think that's very common in synagogues throughout the United States. But I would say the ethos here in California, and especially in the Bay Area, is that innovation is good. Like, we should change and we should adapt and we should try to bring the new to the forefront. I sometimes joke that it's like in the tech world, the 2.0 version is always better than the 1.0. And then once it's been a couple of years, like the 2.0 is outdated and we got to go to 3.0 or whatever. And so I think that idea is seen in our congregation in a way that's different than maybe some synagogues that aren't in this milieu, that we like to innovate and try new things. And there's an expectation of that from our people, from our congregants.
The Buddha Gate Monastery and Zen Center is a Chinese Buddhist monastery that practices Chan Buddhism in Lafayette. The Buddha Gate Monastery was founded by the Grand Master Wei Che, an influential Taiwanese Buddhist with more than 1,000 monk disciples. He is known for leading a revival of traditional Chinese Buddhism and for founding Buddhist monasteries across the world. Today, the monastery still adheres closely to Wei Che's beliefs and provides meditation retreats, worship sessions, Sunday services, and traditional ceremonies as methods to spread Chan Buddhist teachings to the Bay Area. The Buddha Gate Monastery is focused on helping its members achieve nirvana through self-realizations. While I could not visit the monastery during the pandemic, their website has transcripts of some of their ceremonies and events. I found the gratitude, blessing, and memorial ceremony to be particularly fascinating. The ceremony is focused around ideas of familial gratitude and how practicing gratitude can reveal the internal greatness of the people around us. In the transcript, the members of the congregation give gratitude to their parents, grandparents, and older siblings. The final spiritual group I explored in my town was the Morehouse Lafayette community, which describes itself as a successful experiment in pleasurable group living for over 45 years. The intentional community was established in 1968 by Victor Barakos and his wife. In the 1960s, the Baracco couple began experimenting with methods to improve their sex life. However, instead of doing so to repair a dysfunctional relationship, they did it to achieve a greater sensual perfection in their lives. Baracco then took his insights and made them into a practice to train others with. The group lived in a closed community that is made up of purple houses, earning them the nickname the Purple People. Lafayette's public has been generally hostile towards Morehouse, and the group upholds that it is simply an alternative living community with standard Californian values, emphasizing that all members can leave whenever they want, maintain close ties with external family, and that each member has the ability to veto any community decision, protecting the weakest member of the group at all times. I visited the community and spoke to a member who explained the value of living in an intentional community. He told me that the group is actually interreligious and that their ultimate goal is to provide a living community in which all members felt validated and appreciated for their contributions. He also said that people within the community were normal people who had fallen in love with a group lifestyle and benefited from the security and support it provided. When I asked why Lafayette had such regressive views about the group, he stated that it was due to their sex-positive beliefs. Lafayette is a city with unique religions and spiritual beliefs that are able to coexist in a tight sphere. I never realized how many spiritual denominations had taken root here, or that my hometown reflected California's religious diversity and pluralism so profoundly. In the past, I think I took it for granted that I spent so much time in such a religiously accepting environment. During the project, I realized that religious diversity is key to creating a city where all people can comfortably practice their beliefs without facing ignorance.